Hey neighbors, Kevin here with etrailer, and today we're going to be showing you how to install the Roadmaster battery disconnect for towed vehicles here on our 2022 GMC Sierra 1500. As cars get newer, there's a whole lot more plastic and a whole lot more that's all in there that's blocking you from being able to take off the negative battery cable on your battery. If we take a closer look at ours right now, there's other things that are plugged into it. We have a whole lot of plastic all around here. This clip's pretty big. There's not really much room for me to take that off and then set it somewhere where I know it's not going to fall too far down or accidentally touch something else that it shouldn't. So having the battery disconnect switch is just going to make it a whole lot easier to do. You're not going to have to get out here, get your tools out, take that post off, and then reconnect it every single time, which is a huge time waste. Instead, having this disconnect switch with a switch inside the cab to easily just press a button to turn it on and off is going to make it so much easier. Now, along with this, most people tell us, why are you putting this on the positive instead of the negative? It says in the owner's manual you have to disconnect the negative. The problem with disconnecting the negative battery cable is that once we do that, now nothing in our car is grounded. So we don't want to do that. We want to make sure that everything is still grounded. So instead, we're cutting the power. And if I pop off our case here, the disconnect switch is now separating all of the other stuff where power was going out into the vehicle and cutting that completely off, while we still have our connections for our supplemental braking system and our charge line, as well as a few other things that we have installed, so that all of those can still function properly. Now, I will say it can be a little challenging getting the switches wiring through if you don't have a good grommet to pass through. Luckily on this vehicle it was pretty easy to get through, even though I did have a lot of other things I had to pass as well. But if this is something you don't feel comfortable with doing, then please feel free to use our dealer locator and just enter in your zip code and you can find a shop to get it professionally installed. If this is something you feel like you could do yourself at home, then please stick around and I'll show you how I got it installed. So to begin our battery disconnect install, we're going to need to find a good space to mount it, and that's going to be within reach because we have these cables. You're not able to extend these at all. These have to match up to the battery, so you have to be within probably 2 feet of it, maybe a little bit more, just so you have enough to go through the lid, because typically we want to try and save the lid, put it on, that way everything's still protected, but sometimes you have to do a little bit of alterations to get to that point. So finding that good spot is going to be the starting point, and we'll find that right now and then let you know what we came up with. All right, so just an update. We've mounted up our battery disconnect switch here. I've taken this gray wire, which is going to be running inside the cab for our switch, and I ran it behind this liner like I've done with the rest of all of our wiring, and went through the same grommet we have run into the hood latch. And I've got that sitting in there so that we can get that ready to put the switch on. Over at the battery itself, so this is actually bent down. The post right here was going through there, so that way once it touches the battery it's connecting and powering the rest of the vehicle. So what we're going to do with our cables here, which this one looks a little goofy because I put some packing tape over it, but the sticker kept falling off and I really don't want to lose that sticker, just in case if anyone else got into this later on, they need to know exactly which cable is which. So the one that says post is going to go to our battery. The one that says cable would typically go to your positive cable on your battery, but since this is a different setup with that whole plate right here powering a bunch of different cables, we're going to have this run to here. So we'll place a bolt and a nut on there, have that kind of bent up out of the way so it's not touching here, and then the battery post cable is going to connect to our actual terminal. Now for this to work, I did have to trim out a bit. I've already tightened it down, but there was plastic right here, a little plastic wall. I cut that out. I moved this wire over because it was running through this little space down in there. So with that cut out, I was able to turn this, get it away from here, so that way we have no connection going between the two. And now we can start making our other connections with the cables. Okay, so now we have it all wired up. I'll explain a little bit more. We have our battery post coming to the terminal, coming right off of our battery. And once again, we've got the battery cable, labeled cable, running to the plate that runs out to the rest of the vehicle. All right, inside we have our wiring already pushed through. Now we need to figure out a spot for our switch. There's a ton of space down here along the bottom of the dash that we could probably put this in, but unfortunately there's a lot of stuff behind here, just randomly, a lot of it just being hard plastic. And we need to make sure that we have enough space for our switch, plus the plug on the back of it to fit. Right here is going to give me enough room, so I'm going to drill through this. I've already started it just a bit just so I can mark it out, so that way I don't lose my spot. But the thing to keep in mind here is we also don't want this to be so accessible that you're accidentally hitting it, because once we do, we're severing the connection between our battery and then all of the wiring that runs out from it. So we want to make sure that you can't accidentally hit this while you're just driving around normally. Using a 5/8 drill bit, we will now drill through. I'm going to go pretty slow with this. I don't want to accidentally go too far in and hit anything else. Go. That's clear. Now on our switch, we will disconnect it. So there's going to be a little push tab to pop off. Pop the switch out. We'll take our nut off. So I have my hole drilled. There's a couple pieces, like layers of plastic here. So I've got the other side of our connector and the wiring hidden in there already. It's slotted up, ready to go. So I can push this through. As I push this through, I'm going to slide on my nut, and then we're going to make sure that we have the side where it has the little locking tab. So if we look on the other side, it's got nothing. When you have that locking tab up, because on the other side I have the locking little lever facing up. So I want to make sure that I'm matching those up so that this properly locks in place. So now that we have everything all buttoned up, we can test our switch, make sure it's good to go. And if we try and turn on, we got nothing. So let's flip it back on. And starts right up. Good to go. Well, I think that does it for our look at the Roadmaster battery disconnect for towed vehicles here in our 2022 GMC Sierra 1500. My name's Kevin, and if you still have questions about a battery disconnect and how this is going to work with your Sierra 1500, please feel free to reach out to us via our Ask the Experts link, a comment on this video, or a phone call to our customer service department, and we'd be happy to help you out on your journey.